Hello and welcome to Dynamic Scotland, and today I'm going to give you my advice on visiting castles in Scotland. In other words, the Dynamic Scotland Castle Guide. Now, Edinburgh Castle sits in the heart of Edinburgh on its huge volcanic rock overlooking the heart of the city. It's a beautiful place, it's stunning views from up there, and it's one of the most visited attractions in the whole of Scotland. But what I would say is I think it's a little bit overrated. I think there's better castles to visit than Edinburgh Castle. And if it's the views you want, you get beautiful views just going up to the Esplanade, which you can visit for free, where all the car parking things is out the front. Has really nice views from there. The castle itself, in my opinion, is a little bit overrated. As I say, I think your money is better spent on some of the other castles, which I'll talk about in this guide. Another castle that's become very popular in Scotland is Doune Castle. It sits just outside Stirling, and it's become very well known because it's the home of a lot of TV series. The latest one is Outlander. They've also shot I think the pilot episode of Game of Thrones was shot there. And of course, if you go back to the 1970s, Monty Python and the Holy Grail shot all the scenes from its castles at Doune Castle. So from a TV and television film perspective, it's very popular. People like to see all that. But the castle itself, it was restored in the 1880s. It was a favourite of Mary Queen of Scots. It's been occupied during the Jacobite rebellion or rebellions by both English and Jacobite Scottish troops at different times. A lot of history there as well. Beautiful setting and a wonderful place to spend an afternoon. It's reasonably cheap to enter it, and you can get, I think, a walking guide, a sort of spoken recorded guide, goes round, explains everything to you. Always seems to be a good crowd pleaser. Now, one of my favourite castles is Eilean Donan Castle, said to be the most photographed and beautiful castle in Scotland. It really is in a fairy tale setting. But that's not what makes it special for me. If you go inside the castle and do the visit, it can be a bit cramped, it gets very busy, but there's a lot to see inside. A lot of photos, paintings, history of the place. It was occupied by Spanish troops. It's been destroyed and rebuilt. It's just a really rich historical site in Scotland, and one that really shouldn't be overlooked. As I say, it's the most photographed. You can hardly drive past it without wanting to pull over and stop. It really is beautiful. But also take the time, go inside, visit it, and learn really about its history, because it's a fascinating place. Now, there's also Falkland Palace. They've used the location for Outlander, the TV series. So again, that makes it a very popular place for people to see these days. Falkland is a small village in Perth, just north of Edinburgh. It's less than an hour's drive. If you're hiring a car, great place to sort of drop into. The village itself is used for the town of Inveraray for the TV series. And of course, the palace also is used as some of its settings as well. The palace is very much worth visiting. It's beautiful inside. It's been restored. A lot of history there. Again, King James V, King James VI, Mary Queen of Scots all used this place. Rob Roy MacGregor occupied it during the 1715 uprising as well. So there's a lot of history, very much worth a visit. Another castle over on the west coast is a castle called Craigmillar Castle. It sits on a small island, or it used to be an island. It's now connected to the mainland with a walkway as the level of the loch has dropped over the years. Beautiful setting, photographer's dream. It's very often seen in pictures, calendars of Scotland and things, promotional websites. Beautiful place. You can wander up to the castle during the summer. The gate is open. You can enter inside and explore for yourself. It's free to enter as well, no charge there. During the winter it is locked up though. But as I say, it's a stunning place. Even if you just drive by on the road, stop and take some pictures on your way to our next castle. The next castle is Inveraray Castle. Inveraray is the home of the Duke of Argyll, the head of the Campbell clan. Again, it's a castle that's been used in some TV series. I think, Downton Abbey filmed a Christmas special there one year, and you'll recognise it immediately for any fans of that TV show. It's beautiful gardens, beautiful stunning castle again, but I believe it's a little bit overpriced. You don't get as much access inside the castle as you might have thought you do. It's a very modern castle. It's still lived in by the Duke of Argyll, stays there in the winter months especially. So I would say go, enjoy the grounds, have a look around, but I'm not convinced it's really worth the ticket price to enter inside. Now, one of the best and most overlooked castles is Craigmillar Castle. Craigmillar sits just on the edge of Edinburgh. You can get there by bus and visit the castle. It doesn't seem to get an awful lot of tourists. People don't really seem to be aware of it. And yet it has as much, if not more, of a history of royalty, of wars, of deceit and deception as anywhere else in Scotland. It's really worth a visit. It's a great place to explore. You can go around all the old ruins, climb up the old stairways onto the ramparts and things. It has some really nice views outside of Edinburgh as well. It's linked with the Templar Knights, with Mary Queen of Scots. It's just a really good visit. As I say, a lot of history, well worth the ticket price, just on the edge of Edinburgh. And I think if you can only visit one castle in Edinburgh, go to Craigmillar rather than Edinburgh Castle. I don't believe you'll be disappointed. So which castle do I think is the best value for money? I believe Stirling Castle. Again, it's set in a stunning location. It's got beautiful views all over. It's on an old volcanic rock. The castle itself has a lot going on inside. There's several small museums for different things. There's a bit of an old soldiers from World War I all the way through, museum to do with them. There's all sorts of displays showing you how the castle worked. Some of the rooms have been recreated to show you how they were in their day. There's the Grand Hall. Historically, it was probably more important in some respects because of its location, and it was also the seat. A lot of the King Jameses used that as their sort of seat of power. And I just believe it's a much better value for money. You can easily spend several hours wandering around the castle, if not a whole day, and still not see everything. Also, they have guided tours every hour. It's a different guide usually every time, all giving a different perspective on the castle. And they really are great guides. They've got a great sense of humour, and they really bring the history of the place to life. So if you're there for a day, you can sometimes do 2 or 3 of these small tours. They only last 15-20 minutes, each one showing you a different part or a different aspect of the castle and its history. Fantastic day out in Stirling Castle, I think.